The Constitution says you have to protect our country, and you have to protect our Constitution, and you can't vote on fraud. And fraud breaks up everything, doesn't it? When you catch somebody in a fraud, you're allowed to go by very different rules. So I hope Mike has the courage to do what he has to do.
We're talking about you,
We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. So we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania. And we're going to the Capitol. And we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
Majority Leader, we're debating a step that has never been taken in American history. President Trump claims the election was stolen. The assertions range from specific local allegations to constitutional arguments to sweeping conspiracy theories. But my colleagues, nothing before us proves illegality anywhere near the massive scale that would have tipped the entire election.
My challenge today is not about the good people of Arizona.
And it will stand in recess until the call of the chair.
We'll pause. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Speaker, can I have order in the chamber?
The House will be in order.
Go!
There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Whitfield. I am the Progressive Democrat running to unseat and replace Senator John Boozman in the United States Senate. And I am going to talk a little bit about the insurrection on January 6th. We're going to talk about the impeachment today and some other things that I think are really important to us here locally in Arkansas, such as bills that are floating around our House and Senate and our judiciary committees. What we're going to be, the meetings we'll be attending next week. I'll talk a little bit about my interview from last week, and then, of course, the weather that is going to be impacting us over this next week as well. So let's go ahead and, oh man, just watching that video, it makes me just raging with fear, with anger. It's disgusting. This was actually the video that was shown in the impeachment hearing, a 13-minute video. And our United States senators watched this video before they voted to acquit Donald J. Trump today for his insurrection or his incitement of an insurrection and riot. So let's move on to some lighter things for just a little bit before we move into that deep, dirty stuff. First thing I wanted to talk about was, let's see, I did an interview with TNT last week. It was a really great interview. It was like 3.6 gigabytes. I just got the file and I uploaded it to YouTube. So I'll share that video later this evening. So check that interview out if you can. And then also I had retweeted the interview from Sonsol. It was one of the best interviews I've ever had because we had so much participation with so many great questions, and it was just a great Q&A session. So if you watch any of my interviews, I have done so many interviews, probably almost maybe near 100 with my interviews and live streams. If you want to just watch one of them, I would suggest that one. All right, so bills for Arkansas that we are going to be facing. This last week, I did join the Benton County Democratic meeting that they had. It was via Zoom, and I learned a whole lot about what was going on from Arkansas Justice Coalition, or the Arkansas Justice Reform Coalition. So thank you guys so much for having me in the meeting this last week. I was really honored to be there and to learn so much. So let's talk a little bit about some of these bills. The first one I want to talk about is SB 24, which is the Stand Your Ground bill. It was actually voted down and it was tabled, but it could be brought back at any time. Now, one of the problems with this Stand Your Ground rule is it removes the duty to retreat before using deadly physical force against an assailant. Now, right now, currently, you only have the duty to retreat if it is safely possible. If you cannot safely retreat, then you do not have to retreat. It's just your duty if you can do so in a safe manner before using deadly physical force. We have to be careful about that, because one of the reasons that it was voted down was there's a phrase put in there: if you are lawfully present in a place. So what that means is if you are in a place legally and someone assaults you and you're scared for your life, then you can stand your ground, draw, and use physical deadly force. Now, by adding that lawfully, that means you have to be somewhere legally. And some of the more hardcore far right people do not like that lawfully word in there. They want it so that no matter where they are, if they're carrying their firearm illegally, they still are protected enough to use deadly physical force. Now, you shouldn't be carrying your weapon illegally anywhere. I carry everywhere I go. Every day I carry my firearm with me. I use it for self-defense to protect myself and my family, because, of course, there's some people that don't like progressives running in Arkansas, and I've had some threats personally. So I know where I can and cannot carry my firearm. And if there is a place, such as federal property, where I cannot carry my firearm, I do not carry my firearm there, because I'm a law-abiding citizen. That's why I carry a firearm. Now, they want to remove that clause, lawfully present, so that they can carry their firearms wherever they want at our middle schools, elementary schools, wherever they decide to carry. And if they have to use their firearm, then they're protected. They'll have legal immunity for carrying their firearm where they should not be carrying it. So we have to be very careful about SB 24 and what is happening with it. And I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll keep you all up to date if it does come back to the floor. Another one is SB 292, and this is basically just granting more money for law enforcement equipment. So this is going to grant more money for firearms, for body armor, for new cruisers, for basically a bunch of extra stuff that our law enforcement officers already have and don't really need more of. So I think it's just kind of a waste of taxpayer money. There are much more important things we could be spending money on, especially being one of the poorest states and having the highest childhood poverty. We could be feeding children, making sure that senior citizens are able to get food, that they're able to get the prescriptions they need, just different things that we should prioritize over giving law enforcement extra equipment that they really just don't need. Another one is going to be HB 1158. This House bill is a prison trust fund, and it allows the purchase of additional buildings by the Department of Corrections to open new prisons. Now, in the United States of America, we have only about 5% of the world's population, but we account for about 25% of the world's incarcerated people. And in 2019, Arkansas specifically had the fourth highest amount of people incarcerated per capita. So we do not have a problem of having too many people in prison. Well, we don't have a problem of not having enough people in prison. We have too many people in prison that shouldn't be there. Even people in jail, I believe it's something like 85% of people who have been arrested for a crime are in jail and haven't even been convicted of that crime yet. So we do not need to be opening more prisons. We don't need to be buying private prisons for companies like LaSalle. What we need to be doing is we need to change our prison system from a private one where they want to just keep cells filled with people just to get that paycheck coming in. And what we need to do is reform our prison system into one of being a rehabilitation system. Prison shouldn't be if someone breaks the law, they're there for the rest of their life. It should be someone breaks the law, we put them there, we reform them, we get them to where they can be contributing members to society again, and then release them back into society to help build us up better. All right. SB 195 is the expansion of the Freedom of Information Act to include private companies that operate for the public. Now, private companies that are contracting for public departments, they should, of course, be eligible to request the freedom of information for whatever they're doing. We should be able to request that information because they were still working for us. They're just contracted out. And so I would like to see SB 195 pass. SB 197, it ends the practice of civil asset forfeiture in favor of criminal asset forfeiture, which would only seize someone's property once they have been convicted of a crime. So right now, and in some different counties, we have departments whose revenue could be more than 50, 60, even 75% of this department's revenue could come from civil asset forfeiture. And one of the big problems with this is that you may not have even been convicted of a crime. You may not have even committed a crime. But if they suspect that you have committed a crime, they will seize your assets. And that is just unconstitutional. So we really need to pay attention to SB 197 and make sure that passes. That way they cannot seize assets unless you've been convicted of a crime. Let's see. HB 1114 will actually raise the parole and probation supervision fees. So we have people who have gone into the system, they're being reformed, they are trying to get back into society, get a job, pay their bills, put food on the table, whatever they're trying to do, to get their lives back together. And we're trying to increase the fees that they have to pay for supervision. So we need to keep those fees low, make sure that, of course, our public servants have enough money to continue their whatever their business is, but we also need to make sure we're not overburdening people who are trying to return to society and get their lives back together, because it just makes it that much harder, and that's just destroying the it's making it so people get out of prison, they realize how hard it is, especially being a felon and a convict, having to get back into the real world, find a job, and then they're just going right back to prison. So by keeping supervision fees lower, we can help prevent things like that from happening. But by raising fees and making it impossible for someone who is trying to get their life back together to actually pay their bills and put food on their table, we're just really making it harder to keep those people out of or from going back to prison. So those are just some of the bills that are floating around. There's a lot of bills floating around right now. We actually had just passed the anti-abortion bill. Well, we didn't pass it, but our GOP legislators in a very partisan way passed it themselves. We have to keep an eye on what bills are going around, and the Arkansas Justice Reform Coalition is a great source. They work really hard to keep up to date on what's happening and try to bring that information to us and make it in easy, comprehensible ways for us to see and read. So make sure you check out Arkansas Justice Reform Coalition. Let's see here. And throughout my live streams, I do these every Saturday night. Sorry, I'm not wearing my shirt and my tie today. I was running errands this afternoon and figured I would just share with you all my COVID hair and a t-shirt. So let's see. Those are some of the bills I went over. This upcoming week I only have one county party meeting on my calendar here. It's going to be the Garland County Democratic meeting. That will be on Wednesday. So I'll be attending that meeting. And if you are in one of the Democratic county parties or Republican county party and y'all are having a Zoom meeting or virtual meeting, Google Meets or whatever, feel free to send me a message. I'd love to come and learn about your parties, learn about the issues that you're dealing with specifically in your local areas. And yeah, so send me a message. And I've got, let's see, Monday is going to be Washington County Democrats, but they are still meeting in person. I haven't been vaccinated, so I'm not going to go to that one. But I have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday open for next week right now. Let's see here. Moving right along, and I'm going to try to keep this a short and sweet live stream so I can answer questions, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions, especially about the impeachment. We'll talk a little bit about the impeachment, actually, I guess right now. So now's as good a time as any to talk about what was happening from January 6th until today, February 13th, 2021, because it was a very historic day. So on January 6th, 2021, Donald Trump asked his followers to go to the Capitol building, and he basically incited a riot and an insurrection. This is an act of sedition with the 14th Amendment, Article 3. We know what sedition is. If you don't know a lot about sedition, the definitions, or who has committed sedition recently in our government, you can actually go to danwhitcongress.us/sedition. And I broke it down with all the different legislators who taken part in these seditious acts, the attorney generals, our United States senators, and I've added the contact information for the U.S. Attorney Generals in there as well if you'd like to give them a call and voice your opinion on how you feel about sedition, and that there are no consequences and no one's being held accountable for their crimes. So the video that I showed at the beginning of my live stream was a 13-minute video that was showed during the impeachment trial. And I wanted to go ahead and read Senator John Boozman, my opponent's statement on why he voted to acquit Donald J. Trump today. So Boozman's statement on here, let me move it over to this screen so I'm not looking so far away. Boozman's statement on a vote to acquit former President Trump. Washington. U.S. Senator John Boozman, Republican Arkansas, released the following statement on voting to acquit former President Donald Trump. January 6, 2021 will forever be remembered as one of the darkest days in our nation's history. The attack on the U.S. Capitol by a violent mob was a threat to our democracy. Courageous law enforcement officers defended lives and safeguarded the constitutional duty of Congress to certify the presidential election. While former President Donald Trump bears some responsibility for what happened that day, the perpetrators who planned, coordinated, and assaulted the Capitol building must be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law and brought to justice. I maintain my belief that the constitutional legitimacy of this impeachment trial was lacking, and therefore the outcome was expected. The Senate's time would have been better spent considering solutions that improve COVID-19 vaccination deployment, advance economic recovery efforts, and reopen our nation's schools. We should immediately work together to achieve those critical objectives. So, Senator Boozman's statement is very political, as y'all can tell. He uses very specific phrases to make sure that he doesn't actually imply a crime by Donald J. Trump. He says the attack on the U.S. Capitol by a violent mob was a threat to our democracy. Well, absolutely. Why were they there? They were there to stop the vote because Donald J. Trump asked them to go there to stop the vote and to fight like hell. He had told the Proud Boys, white supremacist group recently, or just before that, to, stand back and stand by. He gave the orders for these people to go there. He instructed it. I'm not sure if you all saw the video of where he was in the tent watching it happen on big screen TVs. His son was there. There were people dancing, partying, drinking, watching this insurrection take place while the rest of the United States of America looked on in horror. There is no excuse for that. Let's see here. While he bears some responsibility for what happened that day, the perpetrators who planned, coordinated, and assaulted the Capitol building must be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law and brought to justice. Well, who planned and coordinated it? Who told people to be there? When to be there? This was orchestrated by Donald J. Trump. And of course, a few domestic terrorist groups such as the Proud Boys and so on. And I believe that the constitutional legitimacy of this impeachment trial was lacking. How was the constitutional legitimacy of this impeachment trial lacking? Has John Boozman never read the Constitution? It's extremely clear in the 14th Amendment, Article 14, Section 3. It's very, very clear that that was an act of sedition to overthrow the legitimacy of the government. So the evidence was there. We know that an insurrection took place. We know that Donald J. Trump incited the riot and the insurrection that led to 140 law enforcement officers, being attacked, being injured. It led to the deaths of a half a dozen or more people, 2 law enforcement officers. We've had law enforcement officer who was there who just couldn't handle it in his own life. These deaths, this blood is on Donald J. Trump's hands. And it was, just a huge blow to our democracy today and to our Constitution, to our government, to the American people to have so many United States senators side with party lines and refuse to hold the former President Trump accountable for his crimes. So now that all of this is done, I'm really hoping that we can Al Capone Trump, because that's what really needs to be done at this point. If we can't hold him accountable for the crimes he committed while president, then we need to hold him accountable for the crimes he committed before becoming our president. And we need to make sure that we get him for tax evasion, we get him for tax fraud. We need to just put him in federal prison for the rest of his life for the crimes that he has committed that can be proven. All right. Moving right along, I don't want to talk too much about the impeachment. I'm sure we've all been watching it, especially if you're taking the time to watch my live stream. You're probably more political and have been paying attention to what has been going on. Oh man, there's something just blew in my eye. So let's go ahead and I'm going to start reading some of these questions that are coming up in my different streams. I do stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So where's the Facebook? All right. So let's see here. Yeah, and Officer Hodges getting crushed in that door. It gets to me too. That's absolutely terrible. Oh, thank you, Eddie. Honestly, you know, I do have a call to action for y'all. If you could do me a favor, go on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you see posts talking about our senators voting to acquit Donald Trump. If you see posts specifically about John Bozeman or the GOP, you know, please on Twitter add, just put at Danwit Congress. He is a Democratic challenger to Senator John Bozeman, and danforarkansas.com. That's my website. Make sure you put on there as well. We need to start bringing awareness that John Bozeman will be running against a progressive Democrat. We need to get the word out. We need to start getting that momentum going again, get that support coming in, and we're really going to have a great campaign cycle. As soon as I get vaccinated, I'm going to start traveling the state. I'm going to be looking for other candidates to run for these positions against unopposed Republicans, because here in Arkansas, we had 66 Republicans run for our state legislative positions that ran unopposed. We only had one Democratic challenger, actually, that won in a contested race against a Republican, and she only won by 24 votes. So I'm going to spend the next year focusing really a lot of time on finding candidates to run for these positions, because we can't afford to have 66 Republicans run unopposed again and then suffer here from legislation such as this anti-abortion law that was just put into place in a very partisan way. Another thing I'm going to be doing is I will be traveling the state, and I will be talking to as many people as possible. Of course, that's my ground game. A lot of candidates just focus on advertising. That's where like 95% of candidates' donations go to, is advertising. I don't want to waste my money advertising. I want to get that FaceTime. I want to answer your questions. I want to meet you. So I will be spending a lot of my time driving around the state to do just that. Let's see here. The appeal to voters in these bills comes from raw, unmitigated paranoia. It does, absolutely. There's a lot of misinformation in these bills that helps get them passed. We've got to use education to overcome this ignorance to help people understand what's really going on. Absolutely, Ronnie. One more person in prison, then we can reform. I know, Phyllis. I've got my COVID hair. I'm looking a little bit different. I need a haircut real bad. Gosh, there's still something in my eye. But I just took it easy today. I'll do my tie, my nice Trinity knot again next Saturday. Where do you stand on how to bring peace and unity of our country? Thanks, Mom. That's a great question. So a lot of people are like, we need to just slow down, chill out, work on healing and unity and all of these different things, where I'm really not on board with that. How do you unify with racists? How do you unify with the KKK, with the Proud Boys, with domestic terrorists? It's really, really tough. Donald J. Trump, when he took office in 2016, a lot of these domestic terrorists, a lot of these people came out of the closet, and they just, came out from behind closed doors, and they just openly started their terrible ways. So it's really hard. How do we unify with these people? I would say the best way to unify with these people isn't to focus on social problems and partisan politics. It would be to focus on the problems that we are all sharing together, that we're unified in, such as having high taxes for the working class, terrible healthcare, terrible education for everybody, having low wages. These are problems that Republicans, Democrats, left, right, middle, whatever, we all face these problems together. And the only unity that we're going to find with some of these people are unifying against these problems to try to raise our quality of education, make sure that we don't have the number one cause of bankruptcy in America being medical debt, with 70% of those people having medical insurance, and when over 40% of Americans owe medical debt. So we got to focus on the problems that we all face together. What do you think the long-term effects of Trump facing no consequences will have on our country? That's such a good question, Daniel, because the consequences are endless. We're going to. How do you be the president of the United States of America, the leader of the free world, and have no consequences for your action? The Department of Justice made it perfectly clear a few years ago during the first impeachment process that a sitting president cannot be tried or convicted for a crime. A sitting president is immune to the law. And now we have Donald Trump's lawyers stating that basically a former president is also immune to the law and has constitutional protections from being convicted after being a president. So when do we start to hold people accountable for their crimes? It's a very difficult situation that we're in right now, and I would say the best way to start holding these people accountable for their crimes is to vote out the corrupt criminals that allowed them to have no accountability in the first place. And I mean, I hate to just sound like I'm starting a war on the GOP, but these GOP thugs are the ones that are doing it. The GOP are the group, the people who have allowed these criminals to just run unfettered, breaking our laws. And we see that not only with Donald Trump, but we see it with the senators who were basically guilty of insider trading, who were never held accountable for it in the first place, who are actually still going to classified meetings today and using that information to continue insider trading and make profits. It's absolutely insane that we have allowed this to happen. But this is all these are all problems. They're symptoms of the problem. The problem comes down to campaign finance reform. It comes down to making sure that we have legitimate candidates who are not criminals running for office, and we have to start holding ourselves accountable for how we vote. You can't just vote along party lines. If you're just voting for someone because they're your party affiliation, you are part of the problem. We have to make sure that if you're voting for someone, you're voting for someone based on who they are, their integrity, their honor, their how they vote, how their policy is, where their money is coming from. There's just so many different reasons why you should not vote for someone. And we can't just continue voting for a Republican because you're a Republican or for a Democrat because you're a Democrat. We have to vote on people for who they are and what they support. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, Janie, for posting that. Yeah, feel free to copy that comment that Janie posted there and just paste that all over the place. We need to bring awareness. We need to get the excitement in. We need to get people energized and ready to start making change. It's time to move the insurrection away from politics. Let the Department of Justice prosecute them. That is the way to nail them. I do agree, Ronnie. This will actually be the last time that I'm going to be talking about the insurrection or the impeachment because it's done. Donald J. Trump is the first president in history to be impeached twice. He was acquitted twice. That does not mean he is innocent. It just means he was acquitted because he had enough people who he's donated money to in the past vote to acquit him. Let's see. How do we get people to see the problems? That's a really hard question, Marquita. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. The best way to get people to see the problems is to not tell them what the problems are, but to help them see the problems for themselves. Give them the evidence and let them figure it out for themselves. When I was a conservative Republican for most of my life, it didn't matter what anybody told me, if I was wrong or what the truth was. That didn't matter because I was set in my own ways. I watched Fox News, the Federalists, all these Breitbart, these different conservative groups, that I thought they were all right. I believed everything they said without question until a gentleman by the name of Senator Bernard Sanders started showing me evidence. And then I started looking at the evidence for myself and realizing that I was wrong, that the people around me were wrong. But I would have never, anything that anyone would have said at the time would have just went in one ear and out the other. It's just the evidence. We got to help people see the evidence for themselves. According to a CBS poll, 83% of Americans support Biden's American Rescue Plan. The Biden Rescue Plan, we have to do something. I really don't agree with the $1,400 checks. They told people very, very clearly, Ossoff, Warnock, President Joe Biden, they made it very, very clear that if Joe Biden was elected, that we would pass $2,000 stimulus checks. Well, now they're trying to say, well, it's actually 600 for the previous stimulus check plus another 1,400 on top of that equals 2,000. Yes, I know 600 plus 1,400 equals 2,000, but that's not what was said. That's not what people were led to believe before they voted. And I think that it's very important that we get $2,000 stimulus checks out immediately, not in March, not in April, not after tax time. People need the relief right now. And I'm also, as I've been pushing for the last year since the pandemic got terrible, is we had to continue these stimulus checks, $2,000 per person per month until the pandemic is over. If we can't give people enough money to take care of their families, to pay their mortgage, to pay their car note, to pay their medical debt, and things like that, then we're just going to increase the depression. We're going to reduce the ability for ourselves to heal as a society and as a nation, economically and both mentally as well. Now, if you look at just our neighbor Canada, Canada has been giving their citizens $2,000 a month, while so far Americans have gotten a $1,200 stimulus, and then some people have gotten a $600 stimulus on top of that. Well, that's not enough. The American government, on average, has paid Americans about $6 per day in stimulus to keep us surviving throughout this worldwide historic pandemic, while the Canadian government has been able to pay Canadians to help their citizens through paying them $66 a day. So if other countries can do it, we can do it too. We have a fiat currency. We're not going to go bankrupt. We're not going to run out of debt. We're not going to, have too much debt. And inflation isn't going to happen if they take the proper protocols and follow the procedures put in place to prevent inflation. We can do it. We just have the people who are voting to get it done. They don't have a financial advantage in it. They have a financial disadvantage in doing it. So they don't want to do it. They don't care about us. Let's see here. Yeah, the insider trading is absolutely terrible. We don't state or national Congress people poll their constituents for their opinions in particular issues. I think that is a good question. How many polls are actually being done? And one of the problems with polls, one of the worst jobs I ever had, I worked at a polling place for a short time, is when they do a poll, they poll a very small amount of people because polling is expensive and time consuming, and nobody likes to call people and ask them to answer questions, and nobody likes to answer the phone and answer the questions. So when people do polls, it's usually done in a small focus group of maybe 100 to 1,000, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5,000 people, and that's it. Well, what good is a poll of 5,000 people in a state like Arkansas, where we have over 3 million Arkansans, or even California, where they have hundreds of millions of people. I mean, not hundreds of millions. Tens of millions of people. So it's really hard to get accurate information for polls. Now, one of the things that I'm going to do is I want to poll my constituents. I want to know what my constituents want from me. I want to know what they expect out of me and what I can do to help my constituents. So, which is why I have part of my platform as a direct democracy platform, where people will actually be able to go on a website, submit legislative ideas. Other constituents will be able to upvote or downvote those ideas. And then with my discretion, the ideas that have the most upvotes at the end of each month will be submitted, written into a bill and submitted to Congress. That way, I have constituent created bills being submitted by myself to Congress 12 times per year to make sure that Arkansans do actually have a legitimate voice in the legislative process. It will be tough to get some of these things passed, but as we see and as we suffer from these issues we're facing in this pandemic, we'll see who is not truly representing us, who doesn't care about us, and who's more worried about where their next paycheck is coming from. And in 2022, we have to hold them accountable at the voting booths and vote them out. Let's see, February stimulus checks would be great, but there are 12 House committees looking at the AR's bill. What can I do to fix the slow pace of legislation? Again, what we really have to do is we have to call our legislators. We have to light fires underneath them. We have to get them moving. And we have to let them know that if they aren't going to take care of their constituents aren't going to continue to support them. It doesn't matter if we're Republicans or Democrats. We need to make sure that we are holding our representatives accountable. And that all comes back down to voting day. Hold them accountable at the booths. Let's see. Oh no, I'm sorry, Vicious. I was doing a. I'll have to remove that tag real quick. I apologize. I did a quick Super Mario World live stream, game stream the other evening, answering political questions as well. Let's see here. And thank you, Brian. I appreciate it, man. You know, I'll never ask for anybody's vote. I'll never tell anybody who to vote for. All I can do is ask you to just pay attention. Give me your eyes, your ears, and if you like what you see and you like what you hear, then feel free to vote how you want to vote when it comes to be that time. All right, so I think I'm all kind of caught up with questions at the moment. You can feel free to continue asking questions and I'll answer them. There isn't a whole lot more I wanted to talk about. I'm going to talk about a few policies that I support that are just very important to me and important to the people of Arkansas. I'm going to talk a little bit about the upcoming weather because we have a historic storm coming in right now that we should start seeing impacts for tomorrow morning. So a couple policies that I support that are extremely important to my platform and that are going to help Arkansans greatly, and as well as Americans across our entire country. I would say my top policy I support is going to be Medicare for All. Medicare for All is extremely important because what it's going to do is it's going to end the number one cause of bankruptcy in America. How many times can you actually say, you know what? We're going to end the number one cause of bankruptcy? It's not very often you can do that, but we have that ability right now. And the answer to ending the number one cause of bankruptcy is Medicare for All. Now, no, it is not like Medicare. It should never be called Medicare for All. It should be called Healthcare for All. You don't have to worry about supplements or anything like that. What Medicare for All is number one, if you make less than $29,000 household income per year, you don't have to pay for Medicare for All. It will be free to you and your family, medical, health, dental, vision, all of that good stuff. You're going to continue to receive it free if you get Medicaid currently. Now, if you are currently on Medicare or Medicaid, then, if you have Medicaid, you're good. If you're currently on Medicare, you're actually going to have to stop paying your supplements. You don't need to pay those anymore. You're going to have vision, dental, health, all of those good things at no cost to you. You won't have to pay for it. Now, the people in the middle who are basically what I'll consider the working class, they will be paying for Medicare for All. Yes, it is not free. The way we'll pay for it, though, you have to really think about the savings. So a lot of the Republican talking points are Medicare for All is going to cost Americans $30 trillion over 10 years. Well, yes, but what you're forgetting to leave, what you're leaving out purposefully is that Medicare for All will, I'm sorry, let's see here. They say Medicare for All will cost $30 trillion over 10 years. Well, our current private system is going to cost American taxpayers $34 trillion over 10 years. So we'll actually be saving $4 trillion over 10 years. We'll be saving a lot of money by switching to Medicare for All. Now, a lot of people will be like, well, nothing's free. It's socialism, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you're right. Nothing is free. We will pay for it. And here's how we'll pay for it. Medicare for All will cost 4% of your household income after $29,000 per year. What that means for Arkansas and for Arkansans, Medicare for All is going to cost about that. Well, the average household income in Arkansas is about $40,000 per year. So you take $40,000 and subtract 29. That leaves you with $11,000. 4% of $11,000 is about $440 per year. For $440 per year, your entire household will be covered under Medicare for All. That is just ridiculously cheap. It is going to help so many Arkansan families. Now, if you make around, let's just say $100,000 a year, so you can add a little perspective. If you make around $100,000 a year, you'll take $100,000, subtract 29, leaves you with $71,000, and 4% of $71,000 comes out to about $238 a month. $238 a month to insure your entire household. That is ridiculously cheap compared to what the private companies are charging us now. This is significantly going to lower the burden of medical debt, medical costs, all these negative medical issues that we're facing here in America, and it's going to start to bring us on par with the other 37 out of 38 modernized nations who are already working with programs similar to this. Let's see here. I see some other stuff popping in here. Yes, TRICARE. My sister, her husband was in the military, and he has TRICARE, and TRICARE was great to them. And also, if you already have, medical programs like TRICARE, then it would just be phased in. I mean, personally, I think if you served in our military, you served your duty to our country, you should be receiving medical care for the rest of your life for free. You and your entire immediate family. All right, let's see here. Another policy that I want to talk about that's actually really, really important right now here in Arkansas with this weather that's coming in are tenant rights. A lot of people don't know that Arkansas is the only state in the country. 49 other states have tenants' rights, but not Arkansas. Arkansas is the only state without tenants' rights. And what that means is you can be a tenant here in Arkansas, living in a house or an apartment or wherever your dwelling is, and say it's February 13th and it is 8 degrees outside and your heater's not working. And you've been calling your landlord for the last month, knowing that it was getting colder, trying to get your heater fixed, and they've been putting it off, and they haven't fixed your heater. They can do that. They're not legally liable. They don't have any liability. They don't have to fix it. Now, on top of that, if you decide it's 45 degrees in my house, I'm sitting here with the space heater trying to keep my family warm because our heater's not working because our landlord doesn't care, so I'm not going to pay rent next month. I mean, it seems legit, right? Well, Arkansas is also the only state where you can go to jail for not paying your rent. So, because of a lack of tenants' rights in Arkansas, and this doesn't even get into our apartment complexes that are purchased as investment opportunities from out-of-state investors who will, say someone in New York might buy a complex here in Arkansas. They don't get it up to code. There's rodents, there's roaches, there's mold. They don't have to fix any of that, and they don't care as long as they have people living in those basically uninhabitable dwellings paying them their monthly checks. So we have a lot of different issues when it comes to tenant rights here in Arkansas that we have to start addressing. And since every other state has tenant rights, my job as a United States Senator would be to enact federal legislation that protected all renters, all tenants in the entire country, so that Arkansas can be brought into the group with the rest of our protected people in our country. And that is something that I would do immediately as soon as I get into office. Let's see here. Another policy I support that's important and I think really deserves more national attention would be the federal decriminalization of cannabis. Now, fortunately, our House did pass a bill. I think it's called the MORE Act, possibly. And they did pass a bill federally decriminalizing cannabis. And it got tabled by Mitch McConnell when he was a Senate Majority Leader. So I am expecting our Chuck Schumer to bring a lot of these bills that Mitch McConnell had tabled up to vote. And what we need to do is we need federal decriminalization. That way our legal businesses can bank with FDIC insured banks with no problem. We need to make sure that people who have legal businesses don't have to worry about the DEA coming in and raiding their legal place of business and seizing all of their assets. We have to make sure that we're protecting Americans. We have to make sure also that we are nationally expunging cannabis convictions. There are so many people who have a cannabis conviction that follows them around and they can't get jobs because of it. They can't rent places because of it. They can't get their lives to be the quality of life that they can't pursue the American dream because they have these old cannabis convictions following them. So what we need to do is we need to expunge these convictions so that we can allow American citizens to get their lives back to where they want them to be without this ridiculous burden, this ball and chain following them around. Let's see here. Now, if you go to danforarkansas.com, there's a tab up there, a policy tab. You can click policy, and it has all of my different policies. There's a lot of different things I support. A lot of politicians will just be like, "Well, I have 3 policies." That way, I don't have policies that some people don't like, so it's going to cost me votes later on. I'm just going to focus on these 3. Well, that's an old way of thinking. That's a politician way of thinking, and I'm not a politician. I'm a regular working class guy that wants change. That's going to do what it takes to get that change. So I'm going to support a lot of policies like this. On day 1, I'm going to start working my way through this list, and not sure in the particular order, but we are going to get all of these policies addressed because there's just so much important stuff going on that we can't afford to focus on 3 things and just ignore everything else. So make sure you do check out danforarkansas.com policy. I know some people don't want to just sit and read a bunch of policies, especially because I have so many. So what I did for many of them is I took clips out of different interviews that I've done, different live streams, where I talk about the policies and why I support them. It's not word for word what I wrote down, but it's the main gist of what I feel. Let's see here. Saturday. Yes, thank you for joining me, Starla, again. I appreciate it. You're my YouTube regular. A lot of people are usually on Facebook and Twitter. Let's see here. All right. So, and I actually do want to read this comment real quick. As someone who has benefited from a socialized healthcare system, TRICARE, through the military, I couldn't endorse it enough, talking about Medicare for All. There's a lot of myths and false fear about wait times, quality of care, etc. And that is absolutely correct. Bernie Sanders did a town hall on Medicare for All a few years ago. Oh my gosh, it might have been like 4 years ago now, where he had doctors from all over the world come and speak about how their medical care is in their countries, because these are countries that had socialized medicine. And a lot of them debunked the myths about long wait times, the quality of care and things like that, and incentives for doctors. It's all myths. Those are just things that the health and pharmaceutical company has spent billions of dollars to put into your head. That's all it is. Let's see here. And then, yeah, I hope I got that fixed for you, Vicious. I removed a Super Mario tag. Let's see. So I don't have a whole lot else on here. We're only about 46 minutes in, so if there are any more questions, I'll answer them while I kind of close with the weather. Let me pull up weather bug on here so I can get some good, accurate data for y'all. So right now it is 13 degrees here in Bentonville, Arkansas. I'm up in Bella Vista, just north of that. So we have a ton of snow coming in. Oh my gosh. We have areas in Arkansas that are under winter storm warnings for the first time in 6 years. So make sure you stay safe. If you're driving on the road, I know I'm a great driver in the snow. I lived in Wyoming. I lived in Reno, Nevada. Driving in the snow is nothing to me. Just go slow, don't brake hard, never correct too hard on your steering. It's simple stuff, but you have to also understand that there are people around you that may not be as confident driving in the snow. So make sure you're very aware of your surroundings. If you have to go out and drive somewhere, be extra safe. I hate that it's already almost 7 o'clock on Saturday night when the snow is going to be coming in tomorrow morning. So I can't be like, go out and get yourself food. I know a lot of people have already been preparing by going to Walmart, getting food. Make sure when you go out, you do wear your mask. Make sure you're not that person who doesn't care about the people around them. Just, take care of yourself and your family. I was reading some of the Bella Vista group posts, and it was brought to my attention that a lot of people have no heat this winter, which is just absolutely terrible. A lot of people have a heat pump for their heater, and the problem with heat pumps is once it gets down to about 34 to 36 degrees, depending on how you set it, your heat pump stops working. It doesn't work anymore. You have to use an alternate heat source. And personally, I think we have an electric alternate heat source. It's basically electric strips inside of our heater in our duct there, and it heats up. That way it heats the air as it's blowing and warms it. It's extremely expensive. It costs about 5 times as much than running your heat pump. And some people can't afford those utility bills. Some people don't even have alternate heat set up because they can't afford it. Some people... have been going out and just getting little space heaters to make sure that they can keep themselves warm. Personally, that's what we do to help save on our utility bill. At night, we have our little space heater in our bedroom, and it's an electric ceramic heater, and we shut the heater off in the rest of the house. So in the morning, it's a little chilly in the house, but it helps keep our utility bills down because, like other working class Arkansas families, we can't afford just giant utility bills out of the blue. Now, one of the problems with going around and getting the space heaters, because we've been having a problem of people not able to find space heaters because people are hoarding them. Oh man, space heaters, the new toilet paper. Just make sure you have some kind of alternate backup plan, because this is going to be an ice and snow storm. You may lose your power. If you do have a propane heater, make sure you do not use it inside your house. It does release carbon monoxide and you can suffocate your family. And the same thing goes with, let's see here, with generators. Don't run your generator inside your house either. Just, make sure you're trying to keep your family safe. This is a great time to make sure carbon monoxide alarms are working around your house. But yeah, just stay safe, y'all. It's going to be a very, very chilly one out there. I think some Walmarts were actually selling out sleds, like 350 sleds at one Walmart sold out in 30 minutes. So I'm going to be taking my daughter out tomorrow afternoon sledding in our backyard. Have fun with your families. Just make sure if you're out in a public place, socially distance, wear a mask. COVID is still here. I believe we're up to about 1 million Arkansans have been vaccinated now. So we're about 30%. Yes, we are 60% of the way to go. But we do have vaccinations coming in, but COVID is still out there. And even once you have your vaccination, you can still catch COVID and you can still give it to somebody else. Even if you have the antibodies in your system because you've had it and you no longer have it, you can still get it again. You may be asymptomatic. It may not really affect you that much, but you can give it to people who it can kill. So make sure you're being socially distanced, wear a mask, and wash your hands. The 3 W's. Let's see here. And bring your pets inside. Oh my gosh. It is way too cold for pets to go outside. Take them out, let them go to the bathroom, bring them right back in. It only takes... Oh man, here, let me, before I just throw out a statistic, I don't remember, all right. Oh my gosh, this keyboard, that didn't, there we go. All right, in cold, being left outside. How long does it take for an animal to freeze to death? Okay. I want you guys, this is extremely important if you have pets. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes for a pet to freeze to death outside in freezing temperatures. 5 to 10 minutes. That's not very long. That's not even long enough to throw a Hot Pocket in the microwave and forget you let your dog out. So just be careful and, take care of your pets. All right. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, you guys have an awful lot of snow coming. Oh my gosh. Yes, check out terracotta planter heaters because they work with candles. Candles are really good, and those ceramic candle holders work really great for heating up a room. Just be careful when you're burning gas because that's when you have a problem. All right. But I think I've kind of made it through everything. If anyone has a last minute question, I'll go ahead and answer it. Well, thank you, Brian, for your service. I do appreciate it. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Phyllis. And it's hard with COVID because you can't really be like, "Hey, son, come stay with me." It's risky still, but I hope they get his heat figured out before he's in there. All right. So it looks like I'm kind of all caught up. I've kind of answered all the questions on here right now. I've gone through everything that I wanted to go through. I guess a really quick review. We do have an upcoming meeting. It's going to be the Garland County Democratic meeting. We'll be on Wednesday evening on Zoom. I'll be there just to kind of listen and see what y'all's local problems are and how I can help. I've really been focusing on joining these different meetings so that I can find out who the county party candidate outreach people are and candidate support people. I've been taking note, and I'm going to work on getting us all connected together. I want to make sure that all the different counties are starting to get organized so that we can network and build a strong network of Democrats so that we can start to take our state back. I fully believe we can turn Arkansas blue if we work together. We just need the organization. We need leadership. We need our Democratic county parties leadership. We need their chairs to start reaching out to other county chairs. We need Facebook groups of all the chairs together so that they are connected and talking strategy, finding candidates, making sure that Republicans aren't running unopposed. Republicans aren't running unopposed. Just burn that into your head. We have to make sure that we are giving people the option to vote. All right. But I'll stop preaching at you all on that. But hey, guys, thank you so much for joining me. My name's Dan Whitfield. I'm the Progressive Democrat running for United States Senate here in Arkansas. My opponent is Senator John Boozman, who today voted to acquit Donald J. Trump for his second impeachment on inciting an insurrection, which actually I believe John Boozman even stated yesterday before the hearing was even completed that he would acquit Donald J. Trump no matter what. So, keep that in mind. Let's see here. Yes, 47% of Arkansans voted in the presidential election. We only had 55.5% of eligible voters show up to vote this last year, and 45.5% of eligible voters did not. So we have to make sure we're getting our voter turnout going, and the way we're going to do that is by getting people energized and excited and wanting to go to the polls and vote. And that's why policy is so important. And a big chunk of these voters who we need to get to go to the booths are going to be younger voters. They're going to be students. That's why, one of the policies I support is eliminating student debt. And I also support college free tuition up to 2-year degrees in trade schools. And then if you get your 2-year degree, if you finish your associates and you are, taking it seriously and you're qualified, let's see here. I'll answer your question in just one sec, Share. Or I share on Twitter. As long as you take your associate's degree seriously and you can qualify, I'm not sure exactly what kind of qualifications I would put in this bill yet, whether it's a 3.5 GPA or a 3.0 GPA or something like that. But if you are showing that you are actually taking school seriously, you should be able to continue through your bachelor's at no cost to you. I just don't want to make a free ride where everybody is like, just stumbling through college and not really trying, just partying, trying to do it for free. And then I share on Twitter, are you running again? If so, when is my race? So yes, I am running. danforarkansas.com is my website, and our election is going to be in 2022 in November, and Senator John Boozman will be my opponent. All right. And yeah, Gwen, you're absolutely right. Arkansas is bottom 10 in almost everything. And what will they do to improve these numbers? So what I'm going to do to improve these numbers is some of the big things that we're really behind in, that we're lacking, are education and access to healthcare. Education, I really want to change the way that we fund our educational system. Currently, our schools only get about 10% of their funding from federal funds. I would like to reallocate some of the wasteful spending our government does with, such as, hundreds of millions of dollars of subsidies to billion-dollar corporations. I would like to remove those subsidies because they don't need them. I would like to reallocate some of the fat that is being spent in the military budget and bring some of that extra money back into our educational system. I think that our schools should be at least 25% federally funded, with the other 75% coming from state funds. Now, something I wouldn't really be able to do at the federal level, but I think needs to be done at the state level, is rather than having our schools funded by community taxes, because currently, community property taxes are about 90% of a school's funding. I think that what we should do is we should pool all of those funds together at the state level and then distribute them equally for students and faculty. Because we have a very unique problem here in Arkansas where we have some of the best funded schools in the country and some of the lowest funded schools. We have some of the best quality teaching and some of the lowest quality education. So we have to start evening ourselves out. And I think by evening out the distribution of our educational funds will help solve that problem, and we'll start to address one of those issues that we are, of course, bottom 10. Healthcare is another big one, which Medicare for All is going to solve that problem for all Americans, not just Arkansans. The average Arkansan family will have to pay $440 per year for medical coverage. That is just amazing. The only reason we're not doing that right now is because a majority of our legislators, Democrats and Republicans alike, are taking money from the health and pharmaceutical industry in exchange for keeping socialized medicine off the table, because the health and pharmaceutical industry knows that they're going to take a huge hit. I mean, just think about insulin. I think it's the top. Let's see. I think there's not many insulin producers, and if I remember the statistic correctly, I haven't looked at it in a bit. I think it's like the top 3 insulin producers profit like $1 billion a year. $1 billion a year, while Americans die because they can't afford insulin. It's just ridiculous. That makes no sense to me. The only reason that these things are happening is because corruption in our legislative branch and money in politics. But if you want to, Gwen, talk about that a little bit more deeply, send me a message about each specific policy that you would like to know how I can address it. And I will write them all down, and I will address them all in my next live stream for you. Who do I oppose more, Rutledge or Huckabee Sanders? Thanks, Mr. Jim. That is a great question. We're in a rock and a hard place right now here in Arkansas, guys. Y'all don't even understand. So, man, who do I oppose more? They are both absolutely terrible and be terrible for the state of Arkansas. Now, you know, breaking it down a little bit, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she's a professional liar. She only got her job because her father ran against Donald Trump and then dropped out in exchange for political favors. That's how she got her job at the White House, and that's how she got Trump's endorsement here. But realistically, she hasn't really done anything to hurt Arkansans. She hasn't had the authority or the ability to. Now, she's very, very far right. She's very inflammatory when it comes to right wing and left wing and evil liberals, blah 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 kind of stuff. So she definitely would not be good for America in any way in an elected position. Now, Leslie Rutledge is different. She is here in Arkansas. She has hurt Arkansans. She has done bad things for our state. She is a criminal, and she has no business in any elected office at all. When she spent 1.6 million tax dollars on her political campaign, she should have went straight to prison. But unfortunately, the Arkansas Ethics Committee, the people who would be holding her accountable, one of them was placed by her, one of them was placed by her buddy Asa Hutchinson. And the problem is our Arkansas Ethics Committee, these 5 people were placed by the GOP. So it's all very partisan, and none of these Republicans in our government, in our local state government, are going to be held accountable for any of the crimes they commit, because they made sure to place the people who would be holding them accountable in those positions. So it's really tough. I couldn't even say. I hope neither of them win. I was sad when Tim Griffin dropped out. I know Jared Henderson's talking about maybe, because people are asking him. But realistically, we need a strong Democrat to come in and just wipe the floor with them. You're not going to win a race here in Arkansas by being a nice, soft-spoken Democrat on we need healing, we need unity, we can do that. No, you have to be loud, you have to bring the fire, and you're going to have to fight fire with fire if you're going to win an election in this state. You need to bring the truth, the facts, and make sure people know who these other people you're running against are, what they stand for, and what they've been doing behind closed doors. So I know Mr. Russ is running. He's the only Democrat I know of that is already announced. He's a progressive. I like everything he stands for. He's a newcomer in politics, just like I am. He's a working class guy. I'd like to continue to watch his campaign and see where it goes. But between Huckabee Sanders and Rutledge, I guess Huckabee Sanders, she's already got a ton of money and backing behind her. She'll probably win, I'm guessing. But either way, it's terrible for us. Yeah, she hasn't had the opportunity yet. But again, I mean, man, what are we going to do? We have to have a strong Democrat. That is the only possible positive outcome of the 2022 gubernatorial election here in Arkansas. Oh, no problem, Gwen. let's see here. All right. Oh, I see some people here. Let's see. We do have a DSA in Arkansas. I have I've been in contact with them. They're really, really great people. I met up with the Central Arkansas Democratic Socialists of America one time, and they were just the most wonderful people. I love the Democratic Socialists. They're just really like the best hearted people, like the Green Party. I love it. Such a great quality of people. And I'll probably be getting in touch with Mr. Gregory here in a bit to see how I can help with them, because I know they have actually been spearheading the fight for tenants' rights in Central Arkansas. So they've been doing a lot of hard work and door to door stuff. But yeah, no, they're great. Let's see. If you're trying to get campaign donations, Cash App is offering $5 for every 5 you send. Wow, that's awesome. I had no idea. I am taking donations. Donations have started coming in, especially today since this impeachment debacle where my opponent decided to say it'd be unconstitutional to try the former President Trump for inciting an insurrection. But he incited an insurrection. The evidence is there. But yeah, we are taking donations. danforarkansas.com. It has my donor box on there. There's a bunch of different donation links. You should see one as soon as you go to my website. I do also have an ActBlue account, but my ActBlue is still being set up. As soon as my ActBlue is set up, then I'll be able to get that one going as well onto my website. So, we are taking donations, and thank you guys so much for everyone who's donated. These are not easy campaigns to run. 86% of the time, the candidate with more campaign contributions wins an election. 86% of the time, you got more money, you win. That's why we have such low approval rating for our Congress, because they all get a lot of money. They take special interest money. Well, I don't take special interest money. In my last campaign as an independent, I didn't take political party money. I didn't take PAC money. I didn't take special interest, billionaire corporate money. We raised $72,000 plus 100% through individual contributions. And 80% of those were from contributions of less than $200. The other 20% was between $200 and $1,000. So I am all about grassroots campaigns. It is tough to run a grassroots campaign, especially in a state like Arkansas, where we're one of the lowest income states in the country. But fortunately, people are ready for change. They're tired of suffering. People are tired of paying high taxes. People are tired of making low wages, having to worry about if they can turn their heater or not on tonight, if they can afford the utility bills. People are tired of this crap. Sorry to use the word crap, but it's crap. And people are finally ready to start getting energized enough to go to those voting booths. So we are going to focus on those 45.5% of eligible voters that did not vote. We're going to get people excited. We're going to bring them to the polls, and we are going to start turning Arkansas blue. And I really believe we can turn Arkansas blue by 2022. And there we go, blue by 2022. I think we can do it. We just need to get organized. So I'll do what I can to help make that happen, but you all need to do your part. You need to make sure you're reaching out to your friends and family. Hey, we live in this district. So-and-so's been running unopposed for the last 6 years. I know you are passionate about politics and you have some extra time. Would you run? We got to start organizing and mobilizing and getting this done if we are going to flip Arkansas blue in 2022. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time this evening. I appreciate it. I do these live streams every single Saturday night, 6 p.m. Central, with my schedule forbidden it. Let's see here. Do we get to see praying mantises tonight? Oh my gosh. Do you want to see a praying mantis? I guess I might be able to pull one of these guys out. I just fed them. I don't want to let their flies out. See my little trees? I made little trees for my mantises. So in the spring, I put out mantis eggs to help with mosquitoes and the bugs. I live in the middle of the forest. And my daughter, of course, I have a 7-year-old, and she loves the mantises. So we brought a mantis in when it started getting cold last fall. And it ended up laying an egg. So I put the egg in a thing, and the egg hatched. So now I've got a bunch of little mantises I'm caring for until it warms up outside. Sorry. Thank you, Jim. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Dan Whitfield. I am a progressive. danforarkansas.com is my website. You guys all have a good night. May God bless y'all. May God bless America. May God bless Arkansas. Stay safe through this crazy storm. And don't forget, your pets can freeze to death in just 5 to 10 minutes outside this week. So let your pets out to use the restroom, bring them back on in, and stay safe.